Hello and welcome to Sky Career Talks, where we display why it's great to learn with us and communicate. I'm your host, Dion Wright, and I'm super excited to have our guest, Colin DeVries. Colin is a former newspaper journalist for nearly a decade, and he now holds the position of media relations for neurosciences, orthopedics, and transplantation at NYU Langone Health in New York City. Colin, thanks again for joining us, and we just appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks, Dion. It's a pleasure. I really appreciated my education at Rutgers, and I'm happy to give back in this way.
Awesome. Yeah, we appreciate you. And like I said, we appreciate you also being a Skylinks mentor. So my first question here is just going to be, what's a brief overview of your career journey?
Well, I started out of undergrad as a reporter. I was a journalist for 9.5 years or so. I worked mainly in newspapers. The last newspaper that I worked for as an editor was the New York Daily News. I worked mainly on the website there and nydailynews.com. I was a digital copy editor and a homepage editor. But now I'm doing media relations at NYU Langone Health. And I've been doing that now for about 6.5 years.
Wow. So you've kind of made a little bit of a career shift. Do you think that your background in journalism has helped you are in PR and media relations?
Oh, totally. I feel I absolutely am using the same skill set as I was as a journalist. It's all, writing and editing is key. I feel like that is really the greatest skill that I bring to the job. In many ways, and also, as a journalist, you work a lot with building your sources to help you get the facts for your stories, and also learn about interesting news that maybe other people weren't aware of before. So you kind of do the same thing within an institution when you're doing media relations. So it's about building sources within the institution. Getting channels of information coming to you to learn about what our doctors and scientists are working on. And that's really how you develop stories. Without really building that network of sources and having the skills and know how to do that, it's really difficult to create press releases and pitches and really tell the story about what we're doing as an academic medical center at NYU Langone Health.
And so you talk about building sources, and that kind of touches on networking. So both professionally and personally in your career, how big of a deal is networking, and how do you go about expanding your network to engage with more people?
Well, definitely in journalism, networking is a huge thing to, I would say, prioritize if you want to advance your career. When you're in undergrad, you don't really have those opportunities as much outside of the classroom, but if there's any way to develop them, I'm involved with the Society of Professional Journalists myself. I'm the president of the Deadline Club in New York City, which is the New York City chapter of the Society of Professional Journalists. And those are great organizations to be involved with to help build that professional network even before you're out of college. So you're, right when you graduate, to have some professional connections is super important. And as you build your career and think about your next move, those connections often help you. If knowing someone in a newsroom, they might know an editor who's hiring right now, and you could try to apply and have a good way into that newsroom through that source, that connection. And that happens really with every job, but I think particularly with journalism. And I guess I've only had this one PR job, so I don't know if that's the same for PR, but I imagine it is.
Absolutely. And then also, so we kind of touched on how having different experiences, like even your time as a journalist, helps you in media relations now. I know that you spent some time with AmeriCorps. How do you think that has influenced your career journey at all?
So I did AmeriCorps National Civilian Community Corps, which is AmeriCorps NCCC, after college. I was always interested in doing a service-oriented uh, uh, project, or like something like a Peace Corps I was interested in early on. And then I found that AmeriCorps was a great opportunity with only about a year commitment, and I could actually work within the U.S. To help fellow Americans around the country. And I felt like that was really a foundational part of my life, really, because I was able to really help a lot of people, and it really created a solid work ethic, and also just gave me a different look at life around the country. You kind of get out of your comfort zone, and you meet new people, and really appreciate what it is to be American in any place around the country, and how we all work together to help each other. And I feel like that is sometimes missing these days. But I always think back at that experience. I spent most of my time working in the Gulf Coast after Hurricane Katrina to help rebuild homes that people lost due to the storm. So we were working with Habitat for Humanity, rebuilding homes. We worked with United Way to do disaster relief assessments. We also worked at a volunteer kitchen where groups from around the country would come to the Gulf Coast to help rebuild. And just seeing that and knowing that that was the kind of like patchwork of support from all over the country to help this one area, this one group of people, I think is a pretty powerful thing.
Indeed. And also, I think you kind of touched on it. No matter what your career is, we serve the public. And I think too, being in journalism, being in media relations, ultimately you're trying to engage with the public. And I think that your time in AmeriCorps really highlights, and it really helps your career being in communications, because you still technically serve the same base. And also, so to build on that, as a mentor now, did you have any mentors in the past that helped inform your career journey and helped you along the way? Was there any great advice that you received from somebody in particular that's helped you along the way?
So during that AmeriCorps service, I actually had taken a break from journalism to do the AmeriCorps service, because the timeline's a little messy, but after college, I worked as a reporter right after I graduated, but I had already committed to doing AmeriCorps the following year. So I left to do AmeriCorps. And so I was actually still writing. I was still writing a column, a national service column, while I was in AmeriCorps for the newspaper I worked for previously. And during that time, I actually got the opportunity to meet Anderson Cooper. He came to the Gulf, to New Orleans, to see how the recovery was going. And there was a moment where there was a big group of us around, and there was a moment where he was taking questions from AmeriCorps members, and I only had a few minutes with him, but I asked him, that, hey, I'm a journalist, I'm a young journalist, I'm starting my career. What kind of advice do you have for me? And he just gave me very simple advice, which I feel like has really affected me in my career. Just to keep writing, just always be writing, and always trying to find your voice. And that was it. That was all he said. And then he went on to the next person. But I always think about that. He was a super successful journalist himself, and that's what he did as a journalist. He found his place. He found his voice, and he really tapped into that and became pretty successful. So I always think about that, and I always do. Work on. I feel like I'm always trying to find my voice sometimes, and I think you're always constantly trying to improve yourself, and the more that you write, the more that you'll improve.
Absolutely. Well, throughout the course of this conversation, from building a network to finding your voice and continuing writing, I think that all of your wealth of experience and your diversity of experience shows that if you keep working, you're going to find those great opportunities. And I mean, Anderson Cooper's a great mentor, and we're really glad to have you as a mentor as well, so you can share your knowledge. And Colin, I just wanted to say thank you again for taking the time, and thank you for being a part of the SkyLinks mentorship program.
Oh, totally, Dion. Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. All right. Take care.
Yeah.